Praise the Lord.
Amen.
How are we today?
Very well.
Good. We have been preaching in this season from Psalm 23, and today we're just going to focus on verse 2. Because of time, we are not going to read the whole psalm, but verse 2 says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters." Amen?
Amen.
The race for the children of God, there is a place that the Lord leads His children to.
Amen.
He leads us beside quiet waters. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Already in this service, a lot of prophetic words have been spoken. And among those things which have been spoken is that we will not lack. For us to be in that position, we need to be where the Lord is saying that He makes me lie down in green pastures.
Amen.
That is where we will have our provision.
Right.
And to take us beside the quiet waters is taking us to a place of contentment, a place of peace, a place of rest.
Amen.
Did you know that we are designed, we are wired to operate out of a place of rest?
Amen.
We are wired to be found in a place of rest, and then all these battles, God will fight them for us.
Amen.
So when we are in that place of rest, we can be content and let Him do His thing.
Right.
Now then, what is it then that would stop us to enter into this place of rest? Let us look at Hebrews. Let us turn to Hebrews chapter 3. Hebrews chapter 3. Hebrews chapter 3. From verse 16 to 19. Hebrews chapter 3 from verse 16 to 19. The book of Hebrews is all about Jesus. It's a focus on Jesus. And one of the things that stops anyone from entering into the rest is not to know Jesus or not to accept Him. And if we do not accept Jesus Christ or we do not know Him, then we cannot find ourselves in the place where God has designed for His chosen ones to be. Let us see what it says in Hebrews 3:16 to 18. Who were they who heard and rebelled? Were they not all those Moses led out of Egypt? And with whom was He angry for 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose bodies fell in the desert? And to whom did God swear that they would never enter His rest, if not to those who disobeyed? So, we see that they were not able to enter because of their unbelief. Now, three key things that stand out there that will stop us from entering into this rest. One, rebellion. Two, disobedience. Three, unbelief. And so, the Lord is calling us to say that for His children, for those who He has put in this place, for those of us gathered here who were singing this morning about, yes, I'm a child of God, yes, I am. And as we're singing that, I'm thinking that if only we knew fully the full measure of what this means, who we truly are,
That's right.
our identity, our source, who we belong to. You see, it says that if we have these things which have been mentioned here, we are blocking our path to this place of bliss, this place of contentment, this place that the Lord wants us to operate out of. On Friday, when we had our Bible study on Friday, we saw two examples. One was Jeremiah, and two was the king Zedekiah. And in these examples that we saw two contrary spirits operating in these two people. In Jeremiah, the spirit of obedience, and in the king, the spirit of disobedience. And we saw how they would come together time and again, and what Jeremiah would say to the king, bringing the word of the Lord to the king, it would fall on deaf ears. In fact, maybe we can look at a couple of verses. Let's turn to Jeremiah 38. Actually, before Jeremiah 38, let's look at Jeremiah 37, verse 2. Jeremiah 37, verse 2. Jeremiah 37, verse 2. Neither he nor his attendants, so that is neither the king Zedekiah, nor his attendants, nor the people of the land paid any attention to the words the Lord had spoken through Jeremiah the prophet. Now, this is one example where we are being told that the word of the Lord would come to Jeremiah again and again, and yet all these different people in the land, not the king, not his attendants, not the people in the community, not his listeners, not anyone that he was speaking to, would pay heed to what he was saying. They did not pay any attention to what he was saying. This is the spirit of disobedience. But also, these are people who do not know who they belong to and who do not realize their source. And so, the pride and the human reasoning is being put to the fore to counteract and to argue against the word of God. And when that happens, there's only one outcome, and that is disaster. Now, Jeremiah said to the king that when King Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians come, this is what you need to do, and your life will be spared. He said, surrender to him, but in the mind of the king, this does not make sense. And sometimes the word of God will come to us, and it might not immediately make sense, because it would conflict with our human reasoning. And remember that what appears to be the foolishness of God is far more superior to any wisdom that any human being can fathom.
Amen.
And so the king, now, because he chose not to listen to this, look at what the outcome was. Now, look at chapter 38. Actually, let's look at chapter 39. Look at chapter 39 from verse 4. Chapter 39 from verse 4. Jeremiah 39 from verse 4. Now, it says, when Zedekiah, king of Judah, and all the soldiers saw them, they fled. They left the city at night by way of the king's garden, through the gate between the two walls, and headed towards the Arabah. But the Babylonian army pursued them and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho. They captured him and took him to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, at Riblah in the land of Hamath, where he pronounced sentence on him. There at Riblah, the king of Babylon slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and also killed all the nobles of Judah. Then he put out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him with bronze shackles to take him to Babylon. Now, in his human reasoning, thinking that he knew best and ignoring the word of God, he, Zedekiah, and the soldiers tried to flee, and yet they were still caught. So even in their human reasoning, they fell short in what they were trying to do, which is what was happening all the time, that they refused to listen to the word of God. And so now they are caught, and now look at how the treatment that they received. Death, putting out his eyes, pronouncing sentence on him. This is the consequence of disobedience. I submit to you that this king and his people did not enter into the rest of God.
Right. They did it. They did it.
And yet, Jeremiah, who they did not listen to, in fact, on Friday, we saw some of the treatment that Jeremiah received at the hands of these people. He was beaten, he was imprisoned, he was thrown down into the system. These were just a few of the examples we saw on Friday about the treatment that he received. He was rejected by his friends, by all the people in the community. They all turned against him. And yet, this is, in the eyes of the Lord, this is a man who entered into God's rest.
Amen.
And if you enter into God's rest, you have become, in the eyes of God, a success.
Amen.
To the point that in the New Testament, when Jesus asked, "Who do you say I am?" And it says in Matthew, it says, some say Elijah, and others said what? Others said Jeremiah or one of the prophets.
Yeah.
That is the measure of the success that Jeremiah becomes in the eyes of God.
Amen. Praise God.
Amen?
Amen.
And so, what is stopping us then from coming to Christ? Now, Jesus himself, when he came into the world, his heart, we are told, was troubled. And before he went to Gethsemane, but then he had a commission to fulfill. And when he died on the cross and took on all our infirmities on his head, then he rose again from the dead and is seated at the right hand of God the Father. That there is Jesus entering into his rest.
Amen.
Praise God.
Amen.
That is what we are being called upon as children of God to do. To enter into our rest. To be seated where? In heavenly places. And to operate out of where? Heavenly places.
Amen.
Praise God.
Amen.
Of course, yes, we know that although we are not of the world, we are in the world. Because we are spiritual beings undergoing a human experience. And so, with that human experience, yes, of course we notice the troubles of the world. You name it, we notice it. You are far more familiar with the troubles of the world than probably I am, because you probably spend hours watching the news, talking about it. Not only that, but you find yourself sometimes that you are not insulated from it. So sometimes you find yourself running from place to place. My own mother has been internally displaced in her country because she left her home in August of last year and has not been able to return to her home, to her house, because of safety, because of violence, because of trouble. And so, yes, we know and sometimes we experience the troubles and we are part of what is going on. The difference between us and the world is that we know Christ.
Right.
The difference is that those who do not know Christ are spiritually dead. And being spiritually dead, they are not operating in the full measure of who they are. They are only operating with part of who they are. When we say, I am a spirit, and I have a soul, and I live in a body, then all they are saying is that I have a soul and I live in a body, they are not saying I am a spirit. And so those of us who have come to Christ, we are at that point of completion. God made us in His image and breathed on us so that we now take our position as spiritual beings. And as we do so, then we are operating at a level other than the level of the world. And so it says, in all things give thanks, even when it is raining on you, because that rain might turn into showers of blessing.
Amen.
The children of God do not operate with the same principles as the world operates. The world may want to grab and grab and grab. We would want to be open-handed and give and give and give. Because we will know where our reward is. So we will be operating contrary to the principles of the world. The world might be saying that we are wallowing in disease and sickness and worry and anxiety. And we are saying, praise the Lord, hallelujah.
Amen.
Giving thanks to the Lord because He has done it and we are just looking to experience the manifestation in the physical. And so, let us take our position in the place of rest. The Lord is our shepherd. He makes us lie down beside green pastures, and He makes us lie down beside quiet waters. That is where we want to be operating out of. Praise the Lord.
Amen.
We're going to leave it here for today, so that we can carry on with the business of the day. There might be another occasion where we will have a follow-up to this place of rest. But yes, it is well with God's people.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen.